I'm drinking whiskey, I know nothing can go wrong. When I'm drinking whiskey, only time my mind is strong. When I got my bottle is when I'm standing tall. 'Cause when I'm drinking whiskey, I don't feel nothing at all. Oh, when I'm good and drunken, can't nobody bring me down. I like to drink my whiskey when nobody is around. I know my empty bottle's the only one that understands that when I'm drinking whiskey, I forget the man I am. Whiskey, my hands don't ever shake. When I'm drinking whiskey, I don't lie in bed awake. 'Cause when I got my bottle, I don't care if I'm alive. 'Cause when I'm drinking whiskey, I ain't afraid to die. 'Cause when I'm drinking whiskey, I ain't afraid to die. You couldn't believe nothing set in stone. Anything can change the way you see by what is known. For when the light shines bright on the right side, you're left blind to the blight that the shadow hides. But what is your perspective?
There is a sixth dimension beyond that which is known to man. A multiverse as vast as eternity, as timeless as the Infinity Gems. It is the middle ground between the big two and the indie publishers, between sci-fi and mysticism, and it lies between the pages of the reader's imagination. At the summit of entertainment, the dimension of comics, where a humble service is held. We call this service the Gospel of Comics.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Gospel of Comics. I am your host, the Church of Failure, and with me, as always, is my trusty co-host, Ayrton McCartney. How you doing this weekend, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. My car decided to blow part of its fuel line.
Well, I mean, that fuel line is probably only 800 years old, so...
Exactly. So, yeah, didn't quite finish reading everything for tonight, but I think we got the audio figured out on our guest.
All right, well, let me go ahead and get him in here.
So,
Mr. DarkGiftComics, how you doing this week, buddy? Uh-oh.
oh no.
You there? You there, DarkGift?
Hello?
How's it going, man? We can hear you. We can hear you.
Good. How's it going?
Oh, I've been better, but it cost more. But I've been drinking whiskey, so, you know, I'm not having any problems.
Yeah, well, I'm about to join you. I got a bottle of scotch over here, so.
Hey, good man. What you drinking?
Johnny Black.
Hey, that's...
nice. That's one of my go-tos.
It's always a respectable one.
Yeah, that's what I keep in the house. Yeah. What about you guys?
Well, this week, I've been stuck on this McKenna Henry. It's like $13 a bottle, and it's better than any Jim Beam you'll ever buy.
Yeah, I never really got into bourbons that much. Just recently, I started getting into like Woodford and Maker's Mark, but I was always a Scotch guy or an Irish whiskey guy.
Well, the bourbons you just listed off, I would consider sipping bourbons. I'm a shoot bourbon kind of guy. I take
Gotcha.
I take a couple shots of bourbon. I get right where I need to be. I stay there for about an hour. Take a couple more shots of bourbon. The night goes on.
That's it.
But, no.
Yeah,
I just found a bourbon called 3 Chord that is so good.
we actually just started carrying that. I haven't tried it yet. I bartend, so.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we just started carrying it.
Thank you for not being one of those douchebags
Not too
and
long
say
ago.
I tend bar.
The term I hate is mixologist.
Oh,
yeah.
jeez.
I'm like, no, you're not. You're a bartender. Stop it.
Makes it sound like you're a fucking chemist. You're making meth in the back while you pour scotches.
Yeah. It's not that hard to take a liquor, a mixer, and like a piece of fruit and throw it in a glass. You know what I mean? Like, come on.
So,
I mean, I get it. There's flavor profiles and stuff, but for the most part, it's like, just get off your high horse. You're a bartender.
well, I mean, I will give it to a special kind of bartender who comes up with something like a pecan old fashioned. I'm as a whiskey drinker, I've delved into the old fashions and the 7-Ups and all that good shit. Any kind of, or what is it? What's the other drink you make with bourbon?
Like Manhattan.
Yeah, Manhattans are
You could
kind
do
of
a Manhattan.
You could do an Irish mule.
Irish mule,
Irish whiskey.
I don't like drinking out of copper cups. I'll drink out of a Yeti all day long, but I won't drink out of a copper cup. I'm sorry.
What? Ooh, Mr. Posh over here, too good for a copper cup. What, do you have tea with the Queen on the weekends?
No, but
I'll tell you what.
my great-grandmother has a copper allergy, so it just kind of stuck with me.
Oh, okay.
I was just going to say, most of the copper cups out there aren't even copper. Like,
that's true.
they're like stainless steel with like some of them might have a copper coating on the outside, but yeah, the inside is stainless steel.
Well, this being a show about comics, I don't want to get too deep into the bartending and liquor lifestyle. Although there are some comic books that denote drinking that we need to get in the queue.
We really should.
I typically have a random, kind of by the seat of the pants list of questions that I like to throw at our guests. First off, being where did you get into comics? What was your first exposure? Like when it comes to an adult reading comics, there's always a story, right?
Right. I guess there was 2 points actually. I remember my mother taking me to see Return of the Jedi and stopping. We were walking. This is back when we were living in Brooklyn, and we were walking back from the theater, and we stopped at some like late night convenience store, and back when they had like magazine racks and spinner racks.
Yeah, and you can
And
find
they
a
happen to
newsstand,
have right, and they happen to have the comic. It was like magazine form, if I remember, but it was like the comic adaptation of Return of the Jedi.
right?
So that was the first comic that I think I ever got, because I was like, we just saw the movie. And from that is where I started to try to draw. And then my grandfather would pick me up a comic book. I used to have to go to see, they thought I had some kind of weird blood thing when I was younger, and it turned out that it was all a false. There was nothing wrong with me, but so,
Well, that's
but
yet
I
to
used
be
to have to
determined.
go.
We'll determine that by
Well,
the
right.
end of the
Well,
show.
I'm talking physically. There was nothing wrong with me. Mentally, that's still out to the courts.
Get to the internet right now. Check your connection or try again in a little bit.
As my Alexa chimes in. So we would stop I used to go to the doctors every week, and we would stop and we'd pick up a comic book, and then from there, my grandfather would try to, he was the one that like kind of got me into drawing and art and stuff like that, and he would teach me how to like draw the superheroes, whatever. And then it was probably maybe like 5 years later, when I was like around 12 or 13, a buddy of mine I met from school was a big comic book nut, and that's that I got my first issue of X-Men, which I think was like issue 187, if I remember. And it was all over after that. Then I was hooked. So
There you go.
that was how I got into comics. Yeah.
I remember trading comic books. The world has changed so much since back then. Like, it's a little bit of deep lore on the channel, but I used to be really heavy into Magic the Gathering, and I played that every weekend at my local comic shop. And back in those days, man, even when it came to like comic books and trading cards and stuff like that, there wasn't a price guide in your pocket everywhere you went, right? So, if you had a comic book and your friend had a comic book and you both wanted the other one's comic book, you just traded. It didn't matter if it was a Detective
Right.
27 versus a Death of Superman book, right? Like, I mean, obviously it did in the grand scheme of things, but for the purpose of the time period, it was a comic book for a comic book, a card for a card, a collectible for a collectible. This is just a little DSP level info, but when I was in my formative years, my first Naughty magazine came from trading a trade paperback to a kid. I mean, you remember that schoolyards back when? Well, I don't know how old you are. I assume by the voice that you're over 20. So,
Yes.
And or have been smoking since you were 12.
well, I wasn't going to go
both.
there, but
both. So, no, yeah, I'm in my 40s.
okay,
So.
all right. Well, I'm in my mid 30s, so I got you there. But back in those days, the schoolyard, it was almost like prison, right? Like you just traded what you had for what you wanted. And you would go through elaborate trade deals. Like you would have some candy, and you would trade the candy to somebody for something, like some school supplies or something like that. You would trade some school supplies for something else until you ended up with like a comic book or a Charizard or what the fuck ever.
Cigarettes.
Well, I mean that was in high school, but yeah. But you could trade up. You know what I'm saying? And you could end up with what you wanted if you worked hard enough. And that was kind of how it went. I had a copy of the trade paperback. I had two actually of the Marvel versus DC trade paperback from the mid-90s, and that was one of those copies went to my first girly magazine that was actually mine and not stolen, right? but yeah, I mean, it's funny to think about because it's like you said, your friend got you into X-Men, and I remember back in the day, like my grandparents, my grandfather read Green Lantern, and my dad was really big into stuff like Spawn or stuff like that. And for me, it was figuring out who Spider-Man was. It was figuring out, that there were superheroes outside of DC Comics, and you got into that, extreme X-Men stuff, and the Age of Apocalypse was happening right around then, so that was a big deal, and stuff like that. And it was stuff you'd never have noticed or gone through because, you just stuck with what you knew. But I don't know. That just always seems fascinating to me to look back at how different the world was back then when it came to collecting and trading comics, and everybody didn't keep their stuff in a plastic bag and a acid-free cardboard sleeve or whatever. It was all, they were hanging out of the back pocket, stuffed inside of a binder and a notebook inside of a book bag or whatever.
Oh yeah, some of my I still have some of my original comics, and yeah, I mean they're in a bag now just to hold them together, really.
Right, right, just so they don't disintegrate when you open it again. I mean, I've got some of my Legion of Superhero books look like that because they're so old. Like people would have carried them around in their back pocket, and you could actually see the wear from where they were bent in half to be stuffed inside of a back jean pocket, or you can see the corner bends from where they were shoved inside of a book, and the book was closed really fast. It was it was a different era. Nowadays, you get a book and you don't even open it except to redeem the digital code, and you read the digital.
Right. Yeah, I can't get into digital. I try. The only series I read in digital was the Walking Dead, the first 100 issues. I read those in digital format. But yeah, I have a bunch. But
I'm still a big proponent of physical comics, but after I had children, I prefer to read in digital. I still buy physical comics, but I remember me when I was the age of my youngest child, and there's another kind of deep cut from the lore of this show. When I was like 4 or 5 years old, you remember Marvel Superhero Secret Wars? The first
the toys.
Well, the first major crossover that was because of a toy line. Like Hasbro approached Marvel and they're like, "We're going to make toys, write a story about it."
Right. Yeah.
My father had 2 complete sets of that book, right? And hundreds of other comics in one of his long boxes, because back then you didn't have like 15, 30 long boxes. You had one, and those were like your treasures. My 4-year-old ass got up one day while he was at work and turned the entire box into confetti.
Oh shit!
Yeah. So those were some of the books that I've spent my adulthood tracking down, and I paid a lot more for those books than he did. But I remember those stories growing up because my father never let me live it down, and
as a good father should do.
Yeah, right. Nor would I have.
My comics come out when my kids go to visit grandma. Like, my comics come out long enough for me to read them, and they go back.
Right. Yeah, no, I get that. But like you said, like the back in the day was way different. Like I remember, like even the comic book shops were different. I mean,
oh yeah,
I enjoy. I have 2 shops that I go to now, and they're great. And the guys are great, but like the one that I had as a kid, I could ride my bike to. And I remember it was me and that same friend that got me into comics. We were like I said, 12 or 13. And obviously we weren't old enough to quote unquote legally work, but we would go there after school and we would work like from like 4 o'clock to like, I think the store stayed open till 9 every day, almost every day of the week for $6. And this is back in the late 80s.
Yeah.
$6 an hour. Most people were getting like $3.75 at a real job. $4 an hour at a real job.
You guys were
getting
killing
$6 and yeah, but it was all in store credit. But like at the end of the week,
hey,
back then it was Tuesdays when new comics came out. It wasn't Wednesdays, and every Tuesday we would
cash in the paycheck.
Cash in and like literally walk out of there with like 100 comics in our hand.
Yeah.
It was the best. It was like probably the best job ever because like that's really how I got into like knowing my like history of like comics canon and lore and stuff.
Up until
because even if I didn't buy the book, I read them.
Yeah, yeah. That's the perk of working in the shop. But up until probably about 6 months ago, I worked part-time for free at my local comic shop for a discount, basically. Just showing up every Wednesday and every Friday, and I would bag and board. I would price the back issues that had just been collected and hidden away for decades. I'd find what we had that was worth money. I'd track down people that wanted to buy that particular issue for what it was actually worth, so the store didn't have to take a bath in it. I would order the new books for the pull list. I would order what I thought would perform well on the shelf. And when my store got bought out, it got bought out by a group of people who are more collectible card gamers and sports fans and stuff like that. So the comic side of the store really kind of took a hit. Plus, with the way the industry is doing with the mainstream right now, they decided that it would probably be for the best interest of the store itself to basically disassociate with Diamond. And well, I mean, that's the thing. You can't just keep shoving 8 Spider-Man books down a retailer's throat without them realizing what's going on. A modern retailer is going to look at you and go, "I'm taking a bath every month in this. Like, why am I going to continue to do business with you because the store has been for 30 years? Like, we bought the store to make money, not lose it. And that's real estate in the store. Even the 3 shelves they went down from, I think they had 2 sets of A to Z back issues, modern and Silver Age back. And then they had like 3 or 4 wall racks for displays for new this week or new this month or whatever. And when these new people took over, they went down to like just 3 shelves. And I would go in every week and I would rotate stuff and make sure the pull list was taken care of. But in the grand scheme of things, like, what's the point of selling a $5 comic when most people that go in there with $5 in their pocket are looking for something that takes up a quarter of the shelf space?
Right.
It's a pack of trading cards. It's a pack of Pokemon cards. It's a pack of Magic cards. It's a Yu-Gi-Oh thing or a Dungeons and Dragons figurine or a new board game. But
a bump of cocaine.
Well, you find that at the restaurant around the corner.
Oh, my bad.
Not that I know anything about that. But anyway,
that's what you've heard.
This actually is a pretty good segue. The main reason I ask you on is the other day you had a very interesting interaction on Twitter, and as the audience here knows, that's kind of where I got my start in this whole comic scene. Like, I've been reading comic books for 30 years. like basically since I could read, I've been reading those. You remember the square bound cardboard X-Men comics that came out around the time of the TV show? Yeah, I had all of those.
Yes.
Um, I had basically everything you could imagine from those days, encompassing Batman and X-Men, the animated series. I went to see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in theaters. I've just been engrossed in this stuff because, like I said, my dad was into it. You know, kids of the 70s and 80s, we were the generation of children who were raised by children, right? Like our parents
Right.
were growing up with us.
This is very true.
So, you know, my dad took me to that. That's probably
my dad still says to this day, like when people ask where he grew up, he said like, well, he says I haven't yet, but I was raised here.
Yeah. Well, I still maintain to this day that, you know, as men, we stop maturing at 14. Our toys just get more expensive.
Mhm.
But
And
This is true.
less good for your health.
But one thing that really kind of stuck with me is that going through the timeline of what happened the other day. Dark Gift was talking about doing a new kind of segment on his channel, which is linked in the description down below, ladies and gentlemen. If you're not already subscribed to Dark Gift Comics, give it a look. He does everything from pull list reviews to jamming sessions and multiple other things. I believe he's also responsible for the Butter song. Is that correct?
I mean, I didn't write it, but I did. I did do like an acoustic punk rock cover
Now,
of it, and
your microphone's buzzing a bit. Do you have any idea what that might be?
no, to be honest with you.
I think his Brooklyn accent is spiking his audio.
Let me turn you down just a little. All right, say something now.
How that now?
It's still crackling a little bit, but I'll cut your audio down just a little bit. It just sounds like a microphone thing. What kind of mic are you talking into?
Yeah, mute yourself real quick and adjust the cable for your microphone. It sounds like it might be loose.
All right, hold on.
Okay. This is exciting radio right now, folks.
That coughing is not from coronavirus, chat. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Don't let him lie to you.
Dark Gift doesn't have the gift. But did you see did you see the Nick Rekieta and Ethan Van Sciver stream, Ayrton, by the way?
I saw that was a thing. I haven't watched it yet.
Okay. We're gonna look at a clip.
Okay.
When the guest gets back, we're gonna look at a clip.
Is that a little better?
It isn't. It's not at all. I have no idea what that trying is.
Huh.
I mean, it's not.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm using my phone. Maybe that's why.
Oh, okay. I'm not terribly worried about it. Go ahead.
Let me see if I can. I've never tried logging in from my laptop on Discord before.
You can do it in a browser if you don't have the app. I've used a browser to listen to a couple of live chat sessions before. Have you? Did you see the Ethan Van Sciver and Nick Rekieta stream by chance?
I watched a good half of it and fell asleep right around 3 in the morning.
Did you see the Frank? Did you see the Frank Miller story? That's the important part.
That was actually right around the point where I think I was nodding off, to be honest with you.
Okay. Well, I'll hold off on playing that clip until you get everything sorted out, because you've got to see that too. But it actually inspired this week's review, which we're going to be looking at the first volume of Bone, the first 6 issues. He's goofing! Good night, sweet prince. Yes, F's in the chat for Dark Gifts. Dark Gift is he's got a big coof. Corona Chan must have dug her claws into him. But did you see today that motherfucker in Corona Chan has surpassed SARS in deaths? Not even 2 months in, Ayrton.
No.
Not even 2 months in, Ayrton.
Oh, it's just a cold, bro.
It's just a cold, bro. Hold on.
No, I literally.
I'm goofing. I'm gonna goof.
Oh, I'm gonna goof.
I'm gonna goof, Ayrton.
No, I literally left work, went to the guitar store to trade the guitar I bought in summer on a new one because I'm crazy, and then came home and started working on my car for a couple hours, and then tried to read everything for tonight. So I have not caught up on the coronavirus happenings for the day.
Chen Quishi, the investigative reporter that was in Wuhan, who's actually a lawyer, but he's been doing shit. He's the one that put out the 26-minute video about Corona Chan.
Oh, okay.
He has been missing for 40 hours.
Oh, he's dead.
They fucking black bagged him.
Yeah.
But, the numbers are well over 30,000. Probably close to 40 at this point. I haven't looked since. Today was one of the mini chapel's 3rd birthday, so we've been we've been celebrating.
Fair.
The weather's been against us, but no. Our Einbrecht, don't get it twisted. This is still Hong Kong flu around here, son. See, it's mixed with HIV, so it's Hong Kong flu, #1 super AIDS. But the latest stuff that I had seen and heard about this shit is that it was hold on, let me he's back in the waiting room. Hello. Did this work? Ah, shit. Here we go again. Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, there you are.
That sounds much better. Yes, much better.
All right.
I'm gonna turn you back up.
Oh yeah, I'm on my laptop. That's why.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Apparently, Phone Chan didn't agree with you. But if you look above the show chat, you'll see a couple of channels. Show suggestions is where you want to be. And I'm gonna, as much as I love Matt, I'm gonna have to get rid of that message and the robot waifu message. The bottom chat and show suggestions is a timestamped link. So I want you guys to go ahead and pull that up and let me know when you've got it ready. Because I've already gotten it ready for the audience.
Okay. Hold on.
So once you got it ready, let me know, and then go ahead and mute yourselves real quick, and we're gonna watch this clip, which made me decide that we needed to review Volume 1 of Bone this week.
It did not pull up time-stamped.
It should. It should be at 1:21:37.
Nope, it's at the beginning.
Well, you need to be at 1:21:37. And let me know when you're there.
All right. 1:21:35. Does that work?
I mean, sure. You're just going to be 2 seconds behind.
Okay. I mean, I usually am.
Dark Gift is muted, so I'm assuming he's there. I'm going to go ahead and mute myself. Go ahead. Okay.
I was just saying, yeah, I got it. It actually pulled up right there for me. So.
Okay, sweet. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start it in 3, 2, 1, go.
Talbot Links says Jeff Smith got some Disney money early on for Bone. Dude has old stories he might share over beers. Saved him from James Kacholka and went drinking with him and Steve Bissett many moons ago.
Yeah, well, fuck that guy. Fuck Jeff Smith. Fuck him.
Not a big fan.
I'll tell you why. Fuck Jeff Smith. This guy pissed me off. So I don't care about Bone. What, you fucking waxed pogo and you think you're a genius? Fuck you. I'm sitting there in 2002, sitting next to doing a convention in New York City. It's dead. It's like 7 p.m. at night. Nobody's at this convention. It's like Big Apple before Big Apple became Big Apple. And there's a guy lurking in a trench coat. And I go, that's Frank Miller over there. That's Frank Miller. You don't know who Frank Miller is, do you? Or
Frank Miller, he did 300, right?
300, Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
Frank Miller is Daredevil. Frank Miller is a god, Electro Assassin.
The only thing I am mad about for Frank Miller, and I don't know if it's his fault, was after I saw 300, I was like, there were 2 parts of this movie that I think were absolute trash. And then I went to Barnes & Noble and flipped through the 300 graphic novel and found out that those 2 parts weren't in there. And I was mad that Frank Miller didn't drive a javelin through everybody who made that decision's face, personally.
I mean, that would have been probably overkill to be an overreaction, but yes, I mean, in spirit. Frank Miller, was walking around, and I was just like, "You're Frank Miller," and he was kind of like, "Oh, hey." And he was such a nice guy. He came and sat behind the table, okay, and it was just one-on-one time. Nobody was bothering him. I had Frank Miller all to myself, and I had just started drawing New X-Men with Grant Morrison from Marvel Comics. And I had my pages in front of me. And he's sitting there. I'm like, would you like to see my work, sir? And he's like, no problem with authority, Nick. I call people sir.
I'd be like, would you like to see my work, fascist?
And he was close to that then for a little while. It was kind of nice. He's paging through my work, and he's just like, yeah, I can see that you're having, like, the nicest thing that you can say to someone. I see that you're having fun with your work. I see what you're doing here. I like it. He's like, I'm working on a project right now. I'm the same way. I've given up trying really, to be who people want me to be. I'm trying to have fun with my new project. And the project that he was talking about, I found out later, was Dark Knight Strikes Back, the sequel to Dark Knight Returns. And so I have this insight. He was talking to me about Dark Knight Strikes Back and his approach to it, just like, I'm being young again. And all of a sudden, while I'm enjoying my time, I'm entranced with Frank Miller. I've had 5, 6, 7 minutes with him all to myself.
Yeah.
Down the alley comes fucking Richard Simmons, fucking Jeff Smith, curly hair. He's just like, Frank, we gotta go. We got tickets for the show. Let's go. I'm like, fuck you. And Frank goes, oh, I'm sorry. I gotta go. It's a pleasure talking to you, Ethan. And I will never forget that. And I will never forget Jeff Smith. Fuck you. You took my Frank Miller away from me. I wasn't done talking to him. And that's the kind of situation that only happens once in a lifetime. I mean, you're getting Frank Miller without a crowd around him, just one-on-one, talking about art, talking about comics, and the creator of Bone, the guy who wasn't even smart enough, I'm sorry, to sell his creation to Disney when they offered him $1 million when it was something.
They offered the creator of Bone $1 million and he didn't take it?
I have plans.
It was Bone. I mean, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, so, I never, maybe there are Bone fans out there. I don't know.
All right, I'm going to stop it at 125.50. What did you... Oh,
that was fantastic.
That's awesome.
And excuse you, Nick. I am now a Bone fan.
Well, you can be a Bone fan. I'm pretty sure Bone has like 15, 30 different comic book awards. Like, they have Eisners and all kind of shit. Like, Bone doesn't fuck around. It's a great book, but just that story, like, you don't fake that kind of story. Jeff Smith literally pulled a Richard Simmons and took Frank Miller away from Ethan Van Sciver. Well, you're about to find out what Bone is, Chad Middleton. Just hang around.
That's what I was about to say.
But
we've been doing this together too long.
Are you familiar with Bone?
Me, a little bit. Yeah, I actually read. I think the first book that came out right around that time is when I like literally just gave up on comics.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until Comicsgate that I back into it. So
well, I got into indie comics a lot earlier than I got into Comicsgate. Right around the time that Marvel went woke, I stopped buying a lot of mainstream, and around the time of the New 52, I stopped like buying into Marvel and DC. Now I started buying back in around Rebirth, mainly because I liked the direction that Rebirth was going until I saw what Tom King was doing with Batman.
Right.
And what they eventually did to the Green Lanterns, like, I don't know what the fuck this Dark Stars thing is, but man, you can kiss my ass with that. I'm old school when it comes to comic books, man. I'm a Legion of Superheroes guy. I'm a Green Lantern guy. I'm a Spider-Man guy. Age of Apocalypse and Secret Wars 2015 are probably two of the only events that I've ever like really, really bought into with Marvel. I like the Fear of Self storyline where there were like 15 different hammers running around. I liked the Civil War 1 storyline. Secret Invasion was okay, but for the most part, the gimmick was pretty much over for me after Heroes Reborn, which was right after Age of Apocalypse. The yearly mega massive crossover event, it didn't work for me. So right around the time of Captain Marvel's resurgence as Carol Danvers, like, they should have never changed her from Miss Marvel. They should have had this big, long, drawn out way of letting Rogue retain her powers while going on this hero's journey to undo the mistakes of her past and saving Carol Danvers as Miss Marvel and letting Carol Danvers be Miss Marvel in that sexy ass costume she had. And they should have gone through this long, drawn out, way of sending Quasar through the fucking multiverse to save Marvel and brought him back as Captain Marvel in the all new, all different Marvel. That should have been the fucking storyline. That would have been the arc. Or you bring back Monica Rambeau. That's woke and has a precedent, right?
Yeah. Well, both ways I think are better than what they did.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, 17 number ones later, and people still don't buy into Carol Danvers bullshit.
I wonder why.
We're actually going to be talking about that a little bit tomorrow with at Scribe Undead Poe on Twitter. I can't remember his full name right now. Let me pull that up so I'm not doing it. Poe's Law. He is known for his cringe posting, but he definitely has an opinion on comics, and I want to bring him into it. But before we get into our review on Bone, before we get too far down the rabbit hole, why don't you tell the people what your segment idea was that got kind of turned sideways, and we'll talk about that for a little bit. I'm not here to throw anybody under the bus, but I do want the idea of what you're trying to get across out there so that, you can kind of get an idea of what people think about it outside of those that are too close to it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, yeah, so if anybody is familiar, I don't know how widespread your audience is, but if anybody's familiar with Comicsgate, they obviously know that there's a rift, for lack of a better term.
Well, I'll tell you this: I spent more than one show laughing at Robert Liefeld. We've spent more than one show laughing at Comic Book Hut, and we've definitely spoken out about some of the anti-comic. John Delarose has been he's been a recent topic of discussion on the channel. I don't hate any of these people. I want to be clear about that. This is the internet. I don't have time to hate anybody. But what I have seen is that these people they hate us. They hate the fact that we just want to buy good comic books and we're not going to ascribe to identity politics. And that's something that I don't think anybody else can get behind. I don't think they can understand it. So that
to see some of these people go over there, you know what I mean? That's why, like, it always boggled my brain. Like, I always consider myself like in the aspect of the rift a neutral, but I was a outspoken neutral, and I kind of criticized both sides. And up until honestly, and I would listen. What happened the other day? Everybody's like, oh, like especially on the anti-CG side. War Campaign came and roughed you up, and I'm like, did they?
I don't think anybody from War Campaign showed up on your doorstep. If they did, I'm sure we would have heard about it by now.
Right. And that was my other thing too. Is like, if this is what you consider being roughed up by War Campaign, and this is what you guys have been bitching about for like the last year, then you guys need to grow a bigger set. I'm sorry. That, at worst, it was very dizzying. You know what I mean? So anyway, the whole thing was, I got a lot of flack over the last 6 months because, when I would criticize, hey, listen, they throw a meme out there. If it's funny, I laugh. If it goes over the top, I'm like, that was a little over the top. 9 out of 10 times, somebody from War Campaign would either just laugh at me, ignore me, or be like, yeah, it might have been. You know what I mean? When I would turn around to the other side, when they would be doing something similar and be like, hey, guys, I know we're cool and all, but listen, do what you want to do. Just like I tell them, do what you want to do. But don't be it, because what really gets me is when people are hypocrites. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm like, just don't be a hypocrite about it. Like, if you want to take selfies of yourself tweaking your nipples to make fun of Mandy Summers, I think it's stupid. But go ahead and do it. But don't complain.
Don't give our
later
chat
on
any ideas of things to request from me.
New Patreon goal, $20 a month, and you'll get a photo of Ayrton tweaking his nipples in a halter top.
Hey, right, but hey, listen, I'll join up for that. My whole thing was but don't come into my, don't DM me and try to give me some lecture on how War Campaign is mistreating women, and you're doing the same thing. You know what I mean? Don't try to sway me to your side by acting all holier than thou when you're doing the same thing. Right. Well, that's not a meme. Well, it's a selfie, and you made yourself the meme, so yes, it is. You know what I mean?
Literally, if it's on the internet, it's a meme at this point.
Basically.
And so I lost a lot of friends on the other side, I guess, because they didn't like me calling. They didn't mind when I was calling out War Campaign, but they didn't like when I called them out. Right. So it got to the point where I would literally be like, I don't understand why, if you really were die hard about this movement, if this movement was something that you really believed in and wanted to go through, how 12 guys and a comic book creator that you don't can get you to say, I'm not Comicsgate anymore. You could be Comicsgate and be Comicsgate over there where you are now. That was always my Like that was the confusion I had. You know what I mean? Like if you just gave up on comics, you gave up on the culture war, you gave up on all that, then I get it. But if you're still fighting the culture war, and comics are an important part of your life, and that's what you like. The culture war is bigger than comics, but comics is our battlefield in the culture war. You know what I mean? Like that's that's where we plant our flag. You know what I mean? So I got to the point where I was like, I just need to know what was inside their mind. Like, you know, you hear all this stuff. Well, he did this, they did that, and I wanted to get away from the he said, she said, the he did, she did, and just get to the meat of why you're not Comicsgate anymore. And when I was developing this idea, and I thought about it for months, and I was like, how do I do this without coming across like I'm trying to get like drama clicks and all this stuff? Because if you look at my channel, I put a video out like once a week, once every 2 weeks. I'm not trying to like be some like crazy YouTuber or anything like that.
Right.
Most of my videos are me playing my guitar. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I mean, you should get in with our boy Ayrton here. He's a prolific guitarist.
That's what my channel is.
But
and see,
you know, I had a very
check it out. Yeah,
I had a very similar outlook when I first got into this, and you know, we do talk about some little drama here and there, but it's only when it involves us. Like when JDA blocked me for calling him, you know, a hypocrite. When Comic Hut blocked Ayrton and Ayrton's backup
live,
and two of our followers live on air, you know, stuff like that. And when Rob Liefeld came out and said that Comicsgate wasn't the new image, and I'm like, bullshit is not. I mean, they've even got the infighting, just like Image.
And it's funny because I call myself the Comicsgate. You know, I guess the only one that gives me a run for my money is Bianca Fights the Zombies. I call myself the most the biggest devil's advocate in Comicsgate.
Yeah.
Because like even when Liefeld said that, I was like, well, you're right and you're wrong. I was like, you're right in the sense that they're not one big company, but you're wrong in the sense that it's a very important movement. You know,
I would actually love for them to be a big company. Ayrton, can you field this for a minute? I've got a 4-year-old that needs to go use the potty.
Oh no.
I'll be right back.
Okay. So.
Yeah. So
you
sorry,
started getting the beef with the other side.
Right. So yeah, I started getting into beef with. So I was like, I said, you know, and how do I do this without like pissing people off? You know what I mean? Like people that I'm still friends with. So I came up with the idea of finding people who weren't controversial, weren't like in the day in, day out slugfest that's going on within Comicsgate on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
And
I'm back, and
then I said, I said what I could do is like, you know, because I wanted to start with a quote unquote anti, but what I would do is the next show get like somebody from like Comicsgate and come and sit down and give their point of view on why, you know, they're still Comicsgate and what they think about like the antis and stuff like that, and then get like a neutral on there, and you know, the week after that, and discuss the fact that, you know, what it's like being us sitting in the middle of all this, you know.
Yeah.
And I was going to call it Comicsgate Neutral Ground. And anti-comic skaters. This gentleman, I always forget the order of his handle. It's like 6 Scale Combat, I think. I always call him 6. It was one of the only ones that's ever been real like polite and respectful. You know, we disagree on a lot, but like, you know, we've always like never got into an argument, never got into a fight. Stumbled into a conversation, I guess, where I was mentioning it, and he thought that him and
dropped out
Ken
for a
had
second.
this.
He stumbled into a conversation where you had mentioned it. And what?
And he thought it was a good idea.
Okay.
And like I said, he's always been very polite and respectful with me, even though we don't agree on a lot.
Right.
He likes the creators that he likes and doesn't like the ones that I do and stuff like that and this, that, and the other thing. But we've always been very, never got into a fight. Always been friendly. Like he was Comicsgate back in the day, and we were like, like I said, we've been following each other for almost 2 years now.
Right.
Even though we don't agree, we still follow each other. And the thing is, I didn't know he had like this hardcore, diehard beef with Pan. And I didn't know about these allegations of like doxing and other stuff. So when I announced the show, and it's funny because the day that we were supposed to stream, he actually went on Preston Poulter's channel, and I tuned in, and of course, it was presented way out of context.
Well, of course,
they tried to paint it. Preston tried to paint it that Roe made a quote tweet to sick war campaign on me. But if you look at the timestamps on if you look at the timestamps of the tweet, Pan actually came to me directly, and initially I was a little aggravated because
that's what Pan does.
Cool. I mean, I don't talk.
Pan always like just comes at you straight. Like Pan doesn't fuck around.
And the thing that got me a little aggravated was I've always been cool with these guys. I'm friendly with a lot of them. Pan's one that like, we get along, but it's not like we sit there and have long chats or anything.
Right.
We'll like each other's stuff and retweet stuff and what have you. But at the same time, he knows I'm a big supporter of Comicsgate, and I'm friends with members in Comicsgate and stuff like that. Like in my head, I was like, dude, you could have came to me in a DM. You didn't have to do it like that. You know what I mean? Like all you had to do is be like, dude, why you giving this guy the time of day when he did this, that, and the other thing, and I could have been like, I didn't know he did this, that, and the other thing, and he could have told me what it was, and because everybody knows how I feel about doxing. Everybody knows how I feel about family, and two of the things that this guy supposedly.
Why do you think I wear the mask? Like
allegedly.
Like that's my thing. Like why do you think I wear the mask, right?
Right. And I
show your face, bro.
All right. Big hairy ball sack comes up on screen. That's my face, y'all.
And I get it because like if I had known that, I probably wouldn't have picked him. You know what I mean? Because then I would have had to
well, and that actually
mention this stuff, and that was the whole point.
Well, that actually brings up one of my first points. I'm not trying to like derail you or anything, and I'm definitely not putting you in the hot seat. You can just tell me if you don't want to like get into it or anything. That's completely okay. But one question that I had, like with that, like one thing is, first off, if it's a debate style format, I saw pro and against that kind of stuff. But as soon as Pan came in saying, hey, why would you give this guy time of day? I don't know if you're familiar with the Ralph Retort or the Kill Stream or any of that stuff. I'm a big fan.
Yes.
Just because that's basically internet soap operas, and that's my bread and butter. But
full disclosure, I love that shit too.
The first thing I thought of when Pan jumped in was, dude, let's get Pan versus this guy on a fucking neutral ground stream where we actually have a moderator who can come in and say, you know what? All right, you got 10 minutes.
Blood sports.
No shit. Like, do you realize how entertaining that shit would be?
That did come up. All right, so.
But then Pan said he wouldn't entertain the idea of being on a platform that gave someone who doxed or brought up, deceased family members for clout points, and pretty much said that War Campaign wouldn't be involved either. And I understood, the point behind that, but
no, but even after that, a debate came up. It came up. So, all right. So, like now, that the original idea for the show was not to be a debate format. It was to just talk and not bring up any like I said, the he did, she did stuff. So now with this new information, if I brought him on, I would have to, which means it changes the whole format of the show. It doesn't become the show that I envisioned, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
And it's your channel. It should
long
be
story
what
short,
you want it to be, regardless of what it ends up being. You're not beholden to
long story
anybody
short,
else.
at the end of
Sorry, go ahead.
that's the only reason why I canceled it.
Right.
Not because War Campaign came at me, not because of anything, just because I wasn't prepared. I'm not a debater. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not me. If I'm personally involved, I'll debate the shit out of somebody. But to debate on behalf of one other person, a group of people, a movement,
now,
that's not me.
Do you think you could moderate, though? Do you think you could do moderation for it? Okay.
So that's what came up, right? So I don't know if you paid attention to the whole thing. It got a little crazy and went into like 2 or 3 different threads. But Pan did DM me and was like, I'll debate him. He's like, and you moderate. I was like, all right, if he's down with that, I'm down with that.
Yeah.
And then like I came up with, all right, so during this whole thing, I started coming up with different ideas for the show. As I'm like arguing with everybody, I'm like,
the name of it should be Comics Debate.
Not bad. So I came up with like Comicsgate Neutral Ground 1-on-1, which was my original idea.
Yeah.
Then Comicsgate Neutral Ground the Hot Seat, which would be like like a hard-nosed interview, and then Comicsgate I forget what I said about, but like a debate show where I moderate. And then I can do something where like we just like, you know, Comicsgate call in where I just throw the link out and anybody can just jump in and come in and talk. But
just get people to spurg out on each other.
Right. So
look, don't go stealing my gimmick.
But Pan did throw it out there and offered up a debate with me as moderator.
Yeah.
And six comment back was, it'll be hard to debate with my balls in your mouth. That's what he said to Pan.
I'll take those odds.
Didn't go over well.
And I'll put 5 on Pan.
Me too.
So then like as this is going on in public, me and Pan are now DMing and me and Six are DMing. So I go to Six, I'm like, Pan wants to debate. And he said, no, I'm not going to, you know, give him, you know, the time or anything like that. And then he goes, I'll do a 3-on-3, me, JDA, and Rizzy.
Oh,
and him
shit.
And 2 other war campaigners.
Oh, right? Shit, yes.
So, I'm like, all right, let me find out. So I go back to Pan and I'm like, he says he'll do it with JDA and Rizzy and you, right? And Pan's like, fuck that, I'll take all 3 of them on. I'm like, whatever you want. I go back over to Six. And while I'm DMing Pan, Six was like, no, I'm just kidding. That would be a shitstorm on your channel. I'm like, oh shit, I already sent Pan to DM. So
do it on mine. I'll take it. I don't care. That sounds fucking fantastic.
Oh, I will sit here for that. That would be amazing.
But no, I would just
it was
if you need help with the rules of debate, we could do that. Yeah. But
no, absolutely. And you know, so then so that happened. And then and I told the guys, I said, listen, I had no clue. If that was the case, and I go, not for any other simple fact that, like, first and foremost, that goes against what my initial idea for the show was.
Right.
Secondly, I would have to bring those things up, and I'm not prepared to do that on such short notice, you know, because again, these are all allegations. And then, so about a couple of hours later, somebody, JDA comes up to me. Oh, and while this is all going on, JDA's DMing me. I'll come on and we'll talk. George Alexopoulos is DMing me. I'll come on and we'll talk. Tell that
figure to unblock me. Tell him he's a bitch because he blocked me. You feel me?
And ask him what's wrong with him that he hasn't blocked me yet.
So they're all, well, I was blocked and now I'm not. I don't know how that happened, but
because you became the talk of the town. You know what I'm saying?
I guess so. Yeah, they're DMing me, telling me that they'll come on and talk and this, that, and the other thing, and I'm like, listen, I was like, that sounds all fine and dandy, but that's nothing to do with what's going on right now. You know, I mean, I was polite, you know what I mean? But I was like, yeah, well, I'll maybe one day I'll hit you up. You know what I mean? Like,
get cucked, son.
Well, because this is what they do. It's all about getting you to leave Comicsgate and join their side.
Well, here's the
You
thing.
know,
Like the thing is that Anti-Comicsgate spun it that you were actually going to have Six on to promote his book and not grill him. That's what the story was that I saw after the fact. Is, oh well, they turned a simple promotion stream into a blood sports, and this is their Spurg level. And this is why
I'll give Six credit.
Yeah.
I'll give Six credit because he nixed that. Because one of the things was we weren't going to talk about his book.
Oh no, and
that was one
that's
of the
what I'm saying. But this is what like Vicky was saying, and this is what Pocket Jacks was
no, I know
saying.
they're trying to turn it into a deplatforming thing,
Yeah.
And that's where War Campaign I think screwed up a little because now they basically gave them ammo to say, look, War Campaign, the platform's one of our guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've had 290 subs. Like, did they really deplatform anybody?
You got more than that right now, my brother. You're at over 300 right now.
I?
Yeah.
Oh, I had no clue.
Yeah, you're at over 300 now.
300.
Over 300. Sorry.
Oh, all right, cool. That's how much I pay attention to my channel.
You're at 312. Okay? You're over where we are. I think we're at like 276.
I would have thought you had more than me, to be honest with you.
I have more episodes than you do. 278. Uh-oh. Shit. 22 more. Shit. 22 more, and we got to do a fucking, what is it, your boy Zach stream.
Oh, fuck.
Like 5-6 hours.
That's right.
I'm one of the new subs. I subbed today, so. But
unsub for a little bit. I'm not ready for a 5 or 6 hour show.
Shut up! Don't listen to him.
So
I bought him fair and square.
Like he said later on, the anti side started like tagging me and stuff. Like, I heard you caved and blah blah blah, and I'm like. So I started going like, listen, I didn't cave. Me and Six talked, and like I mentioned to him, I didn't want to change the format of the show. I'm sure he doesn't want to have to change, like, be on the defense with me pushing hard questions and stuff like that.
Right.
This, that, and the other thing. Then Preston Poulter wants to get a quote from
Pocket
me.
Jacks.
So, like he's some
fucking journalist.
Wait, he wants an official quote from you.
Did he ask for an outline?
Just DM him a picture of your middle finger and say, "Here's my quote."
This is exactly what I said. He goes, I forget how he asked the question. Were you presented with evidence of public doxing? And I said, because me and Preston have a thing. Like, me and him, I used to be a fan of his. I backed Guinevere before the whole him like starting making all these crazy. First it was Ethan videos, then it became Tug videos. Now it's Comicsgate videos. So there's like an escalation there.
Well, can I? But before you go too far into that, there's a thread that I want to reference. I'm not sure if you saw it, but. Have you seen his Virgin cover Indiegogo campaign?
Oh, I don't pay attention to his campaigns anymore. No, he's got it, but I haven't paid attention to it.
Well, I have a little touch of the tism. Let's just say that. I have been known to be what some might call a spurg.
Okay.
So when he started taking shots at what is it, Cecil, right. and he did the White Lily Virgin cover 1 of 100, and That's the cover with the PDF or whatever. He has one $5 backer, 8 $8 backers, and 12 $25 backers. Now he has free United States shipping. So I'm either supposed to believe that all of his 22 backers live outside of the United States, or else this motherfucker's funneling money into his own campaign.
Yes, yeah, I totally see that. Absolutely, I've seen that. I've seen that on some of his other campaigns that don't the math doesn't even out.
Right, and that I'm like I said, I'm touched with the tism. Don't don't hold it against me. But I did pretty well in math. That's one of my strong suits. Is states I can't remember it. Math. That's where I do it at. But I broke it all the way down on a thread the other day, and
How dare you?
oh God, no, Greta, go accept your peace prize. Get off my show.
She sneaks in here every now and then, Dark Gift. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, we gotta.
We try and change the locks, but she keeps getting in. It's a real pain in the ass.
I just don't want her sleeping on the street. She eats beans in her Tesla. I can't have her sleeping on the street. You feel me?
I'm a
humble man. I'm a humble man.
Yeah.
I don't like for for the youth to go abused or whatever. But no, I did the math, and it really struck me that this motherfucker is either putting money into his own campaign, or he's only shipping to international backers, which doesn't make sense on either front. But he's also part, and EVS brought this up the other day, a lot of the anti and XCG movement are trying to figure out how to market their books now that they don't have the community rallying behind them. Now, don't get me wrong. I bought Earthworm Jim. I've been following a couple of Bigfoot Bill campaigns so that I can get the original printing of Bigfoot Bill off of eBay. I'm going to get Bigfoot Bill too. I don't really care for Lone Star as a property, but if I did, I would back it regardless of Mike Miller's status in Comicsgate, because I'm here for comic books. I don't give two fucks about what two grown men think of one another.
Right. Well, my thing with Mike, especially, Mike
just can't put out a good book. I'm sorry. Mike is entirely too on the nose. He just thought that he could do the opposite of what Marvel was doing and get away with it. But that's not how this works. When we don't want politics in our comics, we don't want any partisan politics in our comics.
Right. It's funny, too, because I did back the Meg 3-pack, and I read the Meg, which was boring. And not Six Gun Samurai. Is it Six Gun Samurai? Yeah, Six Gun Samurai. I haven't read that one yet, but I read Deal with the Devil, and it's his property, but someone else wrote it and someone else drew it.
Yeah.
That book is awesome.
Okay.
That book is freaking awesome. And it's funny because I looked at it and I was like, oh yeah, this is the one that Mike didn't have anything to do with. He probably came up with the outline and okay, this is what I want. This is the main character and this is his plight, and take it from there. So I'm sure he had a little bit to do with it, but yeah, I mean, it was a really good book. Doug, on the other hand, and here's the other thing too, Mike says what he says about Comicsgate, and we all know Mike from even when he was with Comicsgate. Mike's a troll, you know what I mean? And he's got a bad sense of humor. He thinks he's funny, and he's not. He always has.
You're not wrong.
Mike wants to be Comicsgate. Yeah, Mike wants to be Comicsgate, just not. I guess he doesn't want to be friends with Ethan anymore, but now he feels like he's been labeled not Comicsgate, and I actually, in a weird way, feel bad for the guy. Because the guy wants to say he's Comicsgate.
That's Mike's superpower, is to make you feel bad for him.
That's you're not wrong there on your end. But when it comes to Doug, Doug Doug is as bad as Preston, I think, to be honest with you. Doug, I think, did come in and use
deep cut. Deep cut. I'm with you though. Go ahead.
I don't know if I could back him again. I really don't know.
Well,
I liked Bigfoot Bill. I haven't read Earthworm Jim yet. I haven't taken it out of the box because I ordered it and then all the shit went down. Well, because he spent 2 days in my DMs trying to convince me that he was like being maligned and he didn't mean to broad brush all of Comicsgate, just war campaign and blah blah blah. And you should really, I wouldn't want you to miss out. And here's Doug TenNapel talking to little old me. So I'm like, oh, all right. So I literally spent 2 days in DMs with him
Is it bad that I'm thinking that I shouldn't back him now because he didn't think I was important enough because just little old me? Fuck that guy. I'm more important than you think.
I made a comment on one of his earlier CG bashing threads. Well, I'm insulted. I was like, I've been a fan of yours and I backed Bigfoot Bill and now I want to back Earthworm Jim, but now I'm thinking I shouldn't because I'm Comicsgate and I'm a Rainbow Coalition movement. I'm a cult, and
that's right.
That's when he hit. And that's when he hit me up. And again, I was actually replying to somebody else. I wasn't even replying to him. He started the thread and I replied to somebody else. And next thing I know, I'm getting DM from him.
Well,
and
here's the thing with me. And this is
I went and I backed her.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to tell you, I wound up going ahead and backing Earthworm Jim, and sure enough, here we are 6 months later, and he's gone off on Comicsgate harder than he was back then.
Well,
so
one thing I bring up, and there's, I think, what is it? I think I'm at 4, maybe 5 CG projects, or not even CG, but indie comics projects that I've backed that I've received. I backed Flying Fortress by Eric Weathers. Eric Weathers, great guy. If you look at his artwork in comparison to Ethan Van Sciver's, and you try and compare those two, it's an unfair comparison.
Very much so.
But if you look at the product of Flying Fortress as a whole, you find something that is no less loved than Cyberfrog. Maybe not more.
No, you're right.
But Flying Fortress as a whole is a passion project. This is something that this man and his friends put a lot of time and effort into. And they wanted to distribute it to a wider audience, relettered, remastered. Maybe not completely redrawn, but still a fine product that I was happy to receive, happy to review, happy to read. I was glad I got to read this book. I got Cyberfrog. Cyberfrog had beautiful artwork. It wasn't the best writing I've ever read. But
it was just goofy enough.
It was
that
good.
I really liked it.
It was good writing, right?
I give the guy credit.
I got Earthworm Jim. Earthworm Jim, great writing. The kind of artwork I expected, but a fantastic package. This is a book that's going to sit on a shelf, and it's going to look good. This is a book that I can put on my coffee table, and 7 out of 10 of my friends are going to recognize the property from childhood nostalgia. And it's going to be a conversation piece. And that's something all of these projects are something different to get out of Comicsgate. Or something different to get out of the indie comics movement. And not a goddamn thing that I just mentioned had a fucking thing to do with any of these sons of bitches' personal grievances.
This is very true. I mean, you're right. I mean, I know you're right. It's just that when it like for me
It
with
gets
Doug,
personal.
yeah,
It gets personal when they get in your DMs. It gets personal when they reply to your threads. But we did this to us. We
it's true.
allowed a movement of creators to intermingle with us as consumers. And this is the part that I think a lot of people on our level forget. We have the goddamn power. We're the
That's
motherfuckers
what I
that
keep saying.
made
Yeah.
we're the motherfuckers that made Cyberfrog $1 million comic book. We're the
Mm-hmm.
motherfuckers that raised almost $1 million for for Earthworm Jim.
Mm-hmm.
We're the motherfuckers that make or break Comicsgate or anti-Comicsgate or any book whatsoever. It's not them. It's not their talent. They could be the most talented motherfuckers in the world, but if they're child molesters, nobody's going to give them money.
Right.
Unless they're, from Hollywood.
Well,
like,
we don't know they're
I've
child
got-
molesters when we give them money when they're in Hollywood. Here, come on.
This is true. This is true. But I mean, I've literally backed 100. I think I'm on 109 campaigns.
Jesus Christ!
Not all of them.
Holy shit!
I'm on like
And not all of them
13,
are
and I
comic
think
strips.
bad.
I'm on 13, and I think I got big dick energy over here. Holy shit!
Like some of the, I shouldn't say campaigns. I'll say projects because, like,
Okay.
one was it's actually a book of short stories called Gods and Services by I forget his real name. Critical Blast.
We don't deal with real names over here, so you're good.
Well, he's mentioned his real name before, so it's not even a comic book, but it's and he was selling it on Amazon, so I picked it up on Amazon. So I count that as backing, somebody in the scene, I did back Tommy Gunn by I can't think of his name right now. But he also had a property called Valentine back in the day. No, Tommy Gunn. He's a guy. Oh, what's his name? I can't think of it off the top of my head. It's actually it's probably my favorite book so far that I've gotten. It was
really
a hardcover before Bigfoot Bill was hardcover. It's a tale. It takes place in the 1920s. You could probably pick it up on his Etsy. I think he's still selling it there.
Shoot me a link to it. Drop me a link in that Discord, and we'll look at it.
Yeah,
because that sounds interesting.
I'm curious.
Yeah, it's a bunch of like flapper chicks, like burlesque chicks, like basically prostitutes in the 20s.
Yeah, don't keep talking like that. I'll have to take my pants off, and nobody wants that.
I mean, mine are already off, so keep going.
Well,
I backed the Canadian Shield. I did not back the Canadian Shield. I did see somebody asked in the chat if I backed the Canadian Shield.
That is Chad Middleton.
Comics?
I bet. Yeah. That's Cross Comics. Rick Piper. Rick is he's a great guy. I'm trying to convince him to put a $20 tier on his campaign where he sends you a bottle of maple syrup, where he sharpied out the name of the maple syrup and written in Maple Shield as the name of it, and sends you a handwritten Canadian apology. You don't even get a comic book on this $20 tier, but I want it personally.
It's funny because I think he stopped following me for some. I guess maybe because of whatever. But just today he tagged me and a bunch of other people in one of his little promotional tweets for his campaign, and I retweeted it, because I want to see people succeed. I got no beef with the guy. I don't know why he stopped following me, whatever reason, I still follow him, but I haven't backed it yet. No, I haven't quite yet.
I haven't either. I'm waiting for tax season. I'm going to back a couple of campaigns. I've got some big shit in the works. I want to back Cash Grab and see if Cecil will put a tax refund tier on there at the end of February. where you get like one of each book and maybe a poster of him asking Ethan Van Sciver to draw him like one of his French girls.
But yeah, I'll definitely drop you a link for Tommy Gundos because it's really good. All the main protagonists are these girls. One of the I won't give you the. I'll give you the synopsis that he gave you, so I'm not spoiling anything. But one of the girls gets killed, and the rest of them kind of like say, "Screw this, we're done being treated this way," and they take the law into their own hands. And it's basically the story. And when I backed the campaign, you got book one right away, and book 2 is supposed to come out in November. It hasn't come out yet.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to that when it does finally get here. But yeah, so far it's my favorite book. That and Case File Arkham by Ishiro.
Now, how did they get away with using Arkham as a trapping without being
Arkham
sued?
is technically not. I think like Arkham Asylum is like a trademark name, but Arkham is just a regular old word.
Really?
Yeah, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it has some meaning in like some sort of like psychology or something, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and try to pretend like I know exactly what it means, but yeah, like psychology thing. I think you could. I think like in other works in prose, like it's the word's been used to like name a city. I think that, like in some
in
fictional,
Lovecraft.
Yeah. So yeah, you could use it as long as I guess you just don't, have a mental institution called Arkham. I think that's the only way you get screwed. But that one was pretty good. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, most of them were, are CG projects, or the creators were CG at the time. But some of them aren't. Like I backed Lone Wolf. I actually was friends with Doug on Facebook because he's a musician. I'm a musician. But then, shit hit the fan and now we don't follow each other or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm still waiting on Legend of the Lone Wolf. We'll see if that, when that arrives. But yeah, I got no problem supporting and promoting non-CG projects. I'm not like CG only.
Well, that's kind of been the focus of the channel, like not non CG projects or anything like that, but I wanted to be kind of a platform where even if you were too small to find Ethan Van Sciver's site or whatever, even if you were like a small creator or you were outside of the in group or you maybe had fucked up, I've always wanted to give a platform to anybody who was willing to, come on and talk about their book. Give it a fair shake. I'll tell you if your art style doesn't stack up to what maybe CG is looking at, but at the same time, I think everybody needs a video they can point to talk about their book, to talk about maybe what they're trying to accomplish, as long as they're not attacking anyone at the same time. If you want to come on and promote, I don't care about your politics. Promote yourself. You get what I'm saying?
No, totally.
If you want to come on and you want to promote yourself and you want to promote your project and all that, as long as you're not shitting on someone to do that, I think you should have the opportunity to do it regardless. But
I think so.
And in not quite a year, Ayrton, I think we've had plenty of people on. Like we've had Thomas Royal up on this channel, for fuck's sake. Like,
yeah,
I didn't back his project. I'm not a big fan of what he's trying to accomplish, but there's a video on my channel that I haven't pulled down, regardless of what he thinks about CG, regardless of what he thinks about me these days. There's a video on my channel, if you want to point to it, where we went for almost 2 hours talking about his book. You know, he hasn't been
Right.
on EVS's channel, and we don't have the viewership that EVS does, obviously. But, you know,
Although he was in our chat one time.
well, we were reviewing Cyberfrog then, while we weren't inebriated.
Well, that's besides the point.
And we gave Cyberfrog a good review because it's a good goddamn comic book. I mean, you put foiling on a cover like that, you take me back to the 90s. I mean, you know, you're just asking for a handy behind the fucking gym.
Yeah, totally. I mean, when he said chromium the very first time, I was like, he's fucking around.
Nobody's done chromium for 20 years. What are you talking about, Ethan? You don't know what you're doing. But he did.
I was like, did they even still make chromium anymore?
Yeah, they had to dig up some plutonium from Russia, but they made it happen.
That's funny. But you know, like going back to like when you're trying to show support, like I mean, if I like a project, as long as the person themselves doesn't get like too, I don't know. And I that's why, like with Doug, like I think he's gone a little like overboard. Well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how honestly, I feel when Bigfoot Bill 2 launches.
I feel like Edwin's the guy that's gone a little too overboard, and he's taken everyone.
Dude, that guy went nuts. First of all, he doesn't have War Campaign blocked, but me, who's never really talked to the guy, I'm blocked.
I'm not, but I've got him muted because I can't deal with his fucking spurgery.
I think all I said was. All I said was, I think the tweet that did it was just like he was saying something, and people were replying to him, and I just replied to somebody else, not even to him. I was just like, "What happened to this guy?" That's all I said.
White drugs.
And like
white drugs totally happened to him.
10 minutes. 10 minutes later, I realized I was blocked. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, I mean, it's insane. And people are like, "Oh, he ran a block bot," but I was like, I see him arguing with War Campaign. You think that would have been like the first block bot that he would have done was like, not on Ethan, on Roe. You know what I mean? Like, because isn't War Campaign like his like mission, like life's mission, like to like get the platform? I don't know.
I hope so.
It's
never going to happen. Oh, they have an emoji in their handle. Block them, Twitter.
Oh no.
It's crazy.
But
yeah, Edwin lost his mind. Edwin like literally has lost his mind.
Them white drugs.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. Been there. You do kind of lose your mind. But Mike, I still like Mike. I like his art style. I mean, it's
Mike's not a bad guy. Mike isn't a bad guy. He's just like, I feel like he's gotten entirely too caught up in the movement, and that's been his downfall. And I feel like that's just the case for everybody. Like, honest to God, when I first got into Comicsgate, you know what I saw? I saw Ethan Van Sciver leading a fucking cavalcade of creators and fans and people with money down the Pied Piper rabbit hole of creating a publisher, a talent organization, and a distributor. Like, when I saw alternative distribution, I was like, motherfucker, I'm a prophet. Because I thought that All Caps Comics would umbrella Comicsgate under its wing. But no, that's not what he's doing. And honestly, this is a big criticism of Ethan. I think he's fucking stupid for not doing it. I think not reaching out to Von Klaus. I think not reaching out to Sweetcast. I think not reaching out to Eric Weathers. I think not reaching out to even goddamn John Della Rose and saying, hey, you motherfuckers want to start a company is a big mistake.
Yeah. I do ride the fence on the should they be one company, should they not. Like there's times where I think exactly like what I think. There's times I think exactly what you just said in my head. Like, and then there's other times where I'm like, well, we saw what happened. You know, if it wasn't for who was it? The one that in Image, he was the one that finally stepped up and like started bringing in like the non-superhero book, basically the one who saved Image as a company. You know what I mean? Like
the guy that did Walking Dead, right?
He was one that this is the guy that hired the guy that brought in The Walking Dead.
Eric Larson? Are you talking about Larson?
No.
I was gonna say
it was one of the goober. It was one of the ones.
Jim Lee.
That he's a. No, it was after. Oh, he's a name that you. He wasn't one of the original guys.
Oh, then I only know the original guys for real.
The original guys had their big blowout and everything like that. This guy kind of stepped up and like kind of took the reins of Image, and then that's when you started getting all these like more real, down to earth kind of books out of Image, and then you got The Walking Dead, and you got like.
Are you talking about like stuff. Invincible and shit like that? Because that was all the Walking Dead guy, whatever his fucking name is.
Oh, Kirkman. Yeah, Kirkman came in, and then that's why he became a partner, because he had like all those good ideas. He helped. Yeah, he definitely has helped keep it full.
Good ideas. That motherfucker just pulled his dick out on stream and was just like, "Hey, y'all, like, I got this."
Right. Yeah, no, but this is what I get. Like this guy, he was like in the late '90s, early 2000s is the reason why. Like, otherwise, I think Image would have just crumbled right. Ooh, excuse me, right then and there.
I don't disagree.
So like I kind of like sometimes I'm like, it's kind of better off, you know, we got like all these strong personalities, and then like again, like I'm like, if we just did it though, it'd be so amazing. You know what I mean? So that's why like Mike, I'm a little more lenient with Mike. Edwin. Like when all that shit first went down, I was
Edwin doesn't create anything. Edwin doesn't create anything.
I know.
Edwin doesn't add anything to the conversation. He literally just virtue signals and calls people out for shit they're not guilty
of. Right, and then the funny thing was, like in the beginning, like he was like he was like a Tug or a Yellow Flash who just wasn't really doing like the reviews on his own channel, but he was like the everyday guy that got to get his voice on these streams, and right. I think that's why people liked him. You know, that's why I liked him. Hell, I stuck up for his wife against Remphimus. You know what I mean? Like,
wait, he's married?
Yeah,
that's a little scary.
Yeah. But so when they were all going at it in the summer, like I literally, Mike and Ethan were going at it in a stream, and I like jumped in and was just in a stream, in a thread on Twitter, and I was like, guys, take it private, just take it private.
Yeah.
And I vocally said on a number of occasions, like, this is like watching a high school breakup. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need to see your breakup. You know what I mean?
You're not fucking wrong.
Seriously.
Like, that goes back to what I said 20 fucking minutes ago. Like, literally, this isn't something that I need to deal with. Like, I don't give a shit what two grown men think of each other. If they both make comic books I want to buy, then why should I give a shit what they think of one another?
No, exactly. And that's why when Preston started doing the same thing, I even said, so what happened between me and Preston was I reached out to him and I said, Preston, I think these videos, this is not the way for you to go. I was like, I think you've got a quirky sense of humor and you're really passionate about your books. And that's why you won me over as a fan, whether you're Comicsgate or not. I stuck up for him I stuck up for John Malin on the issue of not having him back on his show when he found out he wasn't Comicsgate, because it's like, listen, it's a themed show. You know, it's like if you had a cooking show and your cooking show is based all on tuna, and somebody came on the show to give their recipe and it was a salmon recipe. It's like, what are you doing? That's not what this show's about. So like for that part, I was on Malin's side, but for when everybody went after him for what one of his creators said about Malin being a Nazi, I was like, that's not him saying it, number one, and number two, she doesn't work for him anymore. So,
well, let's just be fair here. I can't.
Sounds like you make as many friends as Church does on Twitter.
That's what I was getting ready to say.
So I say it again.
Go ahead.
I said it sounds like you make as many friends as Church does on Twitter.
Well, it's gotten to the point.
I mean, I try, you know.
It's gotten to the point where I can't go to sleep unless someone's calling me a Nazi that day. Like, if no one's called me a Nazi that day,
he messages me about once a week, going like, "Oh, I made a new friend," and then sends me a bunch of screenshots.
But here's the thing.
I mean, like, I said that to Preston. I said that to Preston, and he like totally went like lost his mind. He literally like went Max Visaggio on my ass, and what did Max do
to you? That man is just completely insane. See what I did there?
And she Max didn't do anything to me. But you know how she like just like flipped out all over.
He's completely
like
insane.
Richard Meyer, and like
he's a total cum
baseball
dumpster.
Bat and,
Susan, fuck you! Don't even try.
He was like, so Preston was like, "Oh, fuck you, blah 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 blah, this that and the other thing," and I was like, "Dude, is that how you talk to all your customers?" You know what I mean? Like, and
do I need to send some backer numbers your way so you can dox me, you piece of shit? Sorry, go ahead.
Seriously, and like I was like, and then like that's where like it just like went downhill for me and him, and then like he literally like I don't know if you want to call it stalking or harass, but like would like follow me. Like just the other day, like a week ago, I made a tweet, and either he's just been on my timeline to check out my tweets, or he searches for Ethan Van Sciver's name, because I didn't even tag Ethan in it.
Oh, he definitely does that.
And
he 100%
was the first one to chime in on this tweet. But like, I wouldn't be surprised if he just jumps on my timeline, because I mean, he's talked about me in his videos. He's I have screenshots of him saying, "You're my new favorite person to follow." And then he actually did start following me just to like harass me, basically. I have like two screenshots of him basically kind of admitting like, "I'm going to mess with you and I'm going to enjoy doing it." It was basically what he was saying. And so that's when I like kind of like took it up a notch with him. And was like, "Okay, you want to make this personal? Let's make this personal." So now I just go all over. I go at him hard, like hard. Because like I said, yesterday was the day that me and Six were supposed to stream, and then I saw he was streaming with Six. I was like, "Oh, here we go. He's going to bring up that whole war campaign thread." And of course he did. And of course he's got to mock my channel and how many views my last videos got. And I'm like, "Oh, come on, dude. Like, there's not a big call for a no-name playing an acoustic guitar in his living room. You know what I mean? Like, I do it for me and my friends. You know,
Ayrton knows all about that.
You know?
Yes, I do.
I'm sure. Yeah. So if you know what I mean? Like, I do it like I figure out a new cover. I record myself doing it. I throw it up there. I'm like, "What do you guys think?" And then if they like it, I play it out next time I do a open mic night or something. You know what I mean? Like that's what I, you know.
I literally just did that this week.
We're not going to do it more tonight, are we?
Oh, I mean,
We're we're like 16
like
minutes
hardcore,
off. Yeah, we're 16 minutes off from the end of the show, but I'm okay with that. I'll just change the title.
Oh, well, yeah, that's fine.
So yeah, I recorded that whole stream too. The section where he, like, I'm like, okay, you want to do this because this is the third video you brought me up just to try to like denigrate me in a this weird way, but yet you have all these opinions on how Ethan treats his quote unquote customers. You know, the ones that like scream at him like bloody murder. So okay, you can do it, but he can't. Like, so all right, you want to go there? So let's go there. So now you think I want to do this for drama clicks? Okay, we'll start doing drama clicks. I'll start making Preston videos. You know?
Yeah.
I just stumbled.
I'll watch them.
Onto a video. I just stumbled onto a video of his from last week where he was, dude, he totally. That's a good question, Chad. I'll answer that in a second. Where he had this like interview with this anonymous journalist. It was obviously totally scripted and staged. The guy was like over the top, acting nervous. Like he was like, he even kept saying, I'm so rattled. I'm so rattled.
Oh my God.
Did this to me. Yeah. And he couldn't even say, he's like, he kept calling it Comic Gate, not Comics Gate, Comic Gate.
Comic Gate.
And I'm like,
just a singular comic.
And I'm like, this guy doesn't even like this guy, you know, because we all know. First of all, Preston is a undercover SJW.
Are you telling
I'm
me
not going to go into
he
details.
glows in the dark? Is that what you're saying?
Probably. But I don't. For some reason, people on both sides love to send me information on other people. Like I have, if I was the kind of person that just blabbed stuff and like shared DMs and stuff, I could totally wreck a lot of people's lives because I have like a plethora of stuff that I don't know why people send it to me, but they do. And somebody sent me a litany of like backstory on Preston.
That's a $5 word if I've ever heard one.
So, litany?
A litany, yeah.
It's like 8 points in Scrabble.
12, you bitch.
Oh.
I mean, he's admittedly worked in Hollywood, but I mean, his whole family is very, very, very far left.
Well, I mean, worked in Hollywood and far left, that doesn't surprise anything.
You know, he lived in LA, so all these things add up, and then you hear him talk.
Does he know if Harvey Weinstein has a penis or a vagina?
I'm sure he does. I wouldn't put it past him.
Does he know that Epstein didn't kill himself?
Probably. Well, if you ask him, I'm sure he knows all that stuff because he likes to make himself sound more important. Think of it with him is he in this litany of information. I'll use the word again.
Oh God.
Was his was like his academics, and like, yeah, I mean, the guy's book smart. I mean, if he did well in his classes, he went to good schools. But the thing is, he's just well articulate. You know, he's not as smart as he lets. Same thing with Edwin. I always said the same thing about him. I was like, you know, this guy is articulate and he can speak well. But he's not as smart as he likes people.
That's because he talks his way out of. That's because he talks his way out of sucking dick in the military. That's all that is.
But it's the same thing with Preston. Preston is, you know, he likes to make himself sound smarter. You know what I mean? Like I studied law. Well, you know, did you pass? You know, like. What do you call somebody who got a D in medical school?
Doctor.
That's it. So, I mean, you studied law. Why are you not a lawyer, you idiot? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying, like, so he likes to make himself sad, but he probably definitely does have Hollywood connections, and I wouldn't be surprised if this was an actor friend pretending to be a reporter or a comic book journalist who wanted to remain anonymous.
Let me just put this to you.
By war campaign.
I've been reading comic books for going on 28 years. To be fair, there is no such thing as a comics book journalist.
right. No, you're right. But you know, these guys
can we just agree that at this point in this timeline that we're in, that the word journalist just makes you sound like a pretentious twat?
The word journalist,
can that just be agreed upon?
Well, the word journalist basically puts you at a disadvantage of just being completely and utterly untrustable. Like, you can't be trusted if the word journalist is attached to your name.
Really, it just tells me that you're missing a few chromosomes and need to carry around a plant to replenish the oxygen that you waste.
Look, do not, Ayrton, do not assess the name journalist with the name church. Okay, the fact that I'm missing chromosomes doesn't make me a journalist. God damn it!
Oh, it's okay though. I found yours. They're in the mail.
So
okay. You should have the ones that you're missing in a few days.
I'll just put them up my ass and hopefully they'll find their rightful place.
Yeah, exactly.
To answer Chad's question, I currently don't have one of my own projects, but I am doing the Ash Can for Mandy Summers project.
I've heard you were an illustrator. Like, we have our own little dip set of lore here. Like, we just need somebody to draw it out.
We can talk.
I mean, just DM me. You feel me?
Absolutely. I'll slip right over.
I got some tax money coming. You know, we can talk.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, like I'm doing right now it's 10 pages, but it might wind up being 12-page Ash Can called Wart the Wizard.
You got to call it. I mean, because it's Mandy, you got to call it an Ash Can, right? I mean, clear it with her first.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sending an audit her way or anything, but she's definitely a thought. You feel me? I mean,
you guys know the difference between a hoe and a thought?
I mean, well, Mandy is
a hoe is just a thought with their titties out.
No. Mandy is that holiness over there, but most thoughts are that hoe over there. But you know, it's the same acronym. I give her the church's blessing. That's exactly what I said.
She's a sweetheart, though.
That's exactly what I said, but she responded. And in fact, I'll pull it up. But she responded to a Wrecked Planet tweet the other day from EBS, where she was like, "I can't wait to be wrecked," and I'm like, "Mandy's a sweetheart."
I saw that.
Mandy's a sweetheart, but how many thirsty boys have been waiting to hear this their whole lives? Because she said she couldn't wait to get wrecked.
Let me tell you something. She knows what she's doing when she says stuff like that. She's a smart cookie.
Look,
you know?
Well,
there's a reason why.
I'm a married church.
There's a reason why.
Let's not go there.
I'm just saying, there's a reason why she's been able to get to get as successful as she's become and maintain it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you could say that because she's hot is the only reason why, but if she was just hot in a
no, it's because there's a meme of her.
It's
because there's a meme of her with money coming out of her pussy, right?
I have no clue about that.
I'm
Well,
kidding.
in that case,
I'm kidding. I'm joking, Mandy.
Go tell her to slide into my DMs, Dark Gift.
No, you
But
got to
I
slide
don't-
into hers. You feel me?
Yeah, I don't think she would volunteer.
Also,
that out if that
she's
was where we're
married,
going.
and I think she has some kids, right?
Yeah. No, she's married. She's got kids, and like I said, if she was like,
And
for some,
she's
like,
adorable. Like she's the sweetest. Like you can't fuck with her. Like
but like,
nobody will
if
accept
she was-
that. Like Cecil will be on your ass,
it's-
and nobody
Yeah.
wants
If she was-
Cecil on their ass.
I'm saying if she was just like some like ditzy like pretty face, there's no way she would have gotten her book up to $12,000. There's no way she would have built her channel up. She's smart and she
There's
knows
no way she would have
how to
gotten
play her
Peter.
assets.
There's no way that she would have gotten Peter Giffen on her channel.
Or Wyatt Holiday. You know what I mean? Like the two of them are like her co-hosts, and like they're starting a company, the three of them. So I mean, she's got a brain in her head.
Now, let me bring this up in the last 10 minutes of the show. That umbrella guy, Tug. He jumped in on the Mignogna shit. He created a book in the midst of Comicsgate. Do you think he's genuine, Comicsgate, or do you think he's a grifter?
He's genuine.
You think he's genuine, Comicsgate?
I've been.
I don't disagree. I'm not fucking around. There have been times where I've looked at his messaging and I've looked at it and I've said, well, this seems really convenient. And there have been times where I've looked at his messages and I've looked at him and I've said, well, goddamn, this seems genuine. So I've kind of been in the middle.
I've been in. I was privileged enough to sit in on a Discord once. Yeah, he's genuine. I mean, I'm not going to go into what was said and all that stuff, but he's genuine. I can say that.
You heard it here first, folks.
I think he's smart enough to know when to pick his battles. When it comes to Comicsgate,
never in a million years would I question the man's intelligence. I think the guy is, but that's the question. Like that's the reason I have the question. It's not that I don't think that he is smart enough to be genuine or disingenuous. It's the fact that I know he's intelligent enough to be disingenuous and appear genuine. You feel me?
Like, here's the thing: when it comes to, like, say, the anime stuff, would I say he's a diehard anime fan as much as he is a comics book fan? No, but I would say that his principles when it comes to like cancel culture, to platforming, SJWs, span more than just comics. And
that stuff I would never question him on.
And I feel like he went with the anime stuff there. One, because he believed in it. Two, it was a smart move. I mean, as far on a business level,
maybe it rides a little harder than comics do at this point.
Right, and three, there was a lot of stuff going on in Comicsgate that, from the impression I got, he was just kind of sick of the bullshit, kind of before the bullshit became public, and
that
kind of stepped back for a minute.
That kind of circles back to the reason that I invited you on the channel in the first place. Like, I've always kind of loved EBS, but at the same time, and that's why when you ask me in DMs, which I haven't exposed or anything like that, and I don't intend to, but you ask me in DMs, do you consider yourself Comicsgate neutral or anti-Comicsgate? And I said I consider myself Comicsgate, even though I try to hold a neutral stance. Like, I'll buy Doug's comics because I like them. I'm not beholden by War Campaign or Ethan Van Sciver, even though I subscribe and like all those guys. I'm not beholden by Doug or Mike, even though I subscribe to all their channels. I'm beholden by the medium of comic books. What two grown men think of each other, what a group of grown men think about another group of grown men, what the fuck does that matter to me? There's a virus in China that's killing 100 million people right now. What the fuck does it matter to me what some dudes think about some comic books, right?
Right. Well, that's the thing, right? The whole thing is like I said earlier, comic books is just our battlefield in the culture war. And it killed me when Mike said he chooses his principles over the movement. And I'm like,
your principles are the movement, you piece of shit.
Because the movement is fighting against another movement that wants to stifle your principles.
No, right. The movement is fighting against another movement that doesn't want to stifle your principles. It wants to murder them.
It wants to eradicate them, yeah. You know what I mean? So, when I said the movement should come first, for lack of a better term, the movement should come first. You know, and the movement is what's going to protect your right to say pride is a sin. Okay? Because if you lose this
saying pride is a sin in front of your entire customer base is, excuse me for saying, retarded.
That month, yes. If he had said that in October, nobody would have cared. You know what I mean? And, if you are as religious, pride is one of the 7 deadly sins. So yes, pride is a sin. But you said it during Pride Month. And the best part was, and everybody wants to forget this, when that last stream he did with Ethan where they were talking about this situation, and they were like, I remember if it was John or if it was EVS, but one of them was like kind of like pushing it, like you were trolling, and he laughed and it was like, yeah, you're right, I was trolling.
Right.
So he already admitted he was trolling. You know what I mean? So the only thing that anybody said was maybe not the best time to do it. You know what I mean? Like nobody was like really like totally like, it became this inflamed thing after Mike kind of separated himself and made it like, again, like this high school breakup. But for the most part, I don't think people were pissed. I think people were just more like, dude, come on.
Well, that's where Doug took umbrage.
To begin with.
That's where Doug took umbrage.
Yes.
And Doug took Mike under his wing. And that's when Mike, Doug, and Edwin all departed from CG and created their own thing where they put that G cross C or J cross C in their fucking handles or whatever. And that's where it became us versus them. Whereas those son of bitches forgot that it was Marvel and DC versus Comicsgate. It was indie comics versus mainstream. And beyond all of that, it was consumer versus diamond. And everybody forgot that. And I don't forgive Ethan for that. I don't forgive Doug for that. I don't forgive Mike. I don't forgive Edwin. I don't forgive fucking Malin. I don't forgive anybody for that.
Yeah, what's funny is like for the longest time there, I was given. Malin's always been my favorite as far as personalities go. Like if they turned around to me and said you could sit down with any one of these guys for 2 hours and have a beer,
Malin does no wrong though. Like Malin makes comics. Malin doesn't get involved in this bullshit, not publicly.
Right, and he did. He stayed neutral. He was still going on Drawn Quartered and throughout. It wasn't until more recently where he like kind of took on a more active role in the divide after he got booted from Drawn and Quartered, which I think was totally bullshit.
Bullshit, 100%. He was the main draw for that show.
Exactly. We weren't watching it for the winner. We were watching it because there was a bunch of shit talking going on with a bunch of great artists drawing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like that's why. You know what I mean? That's why we were watching it. The winner aspect of it was like whatever. Sometimes I tuned out before they even voted. Like, I just wanted to watch them shit talk each other and draw. That's all I was there for. I didn't care who won. I don't think a lot of people did.
You literally
not until after it became an issue.
You cut the show before the live audience votes. Then you put a vote up on Twitter. I guarantee you, 2 different results, the same show. Fucking twice the fan base. They should have never booted him from that shit. They should have invited Van Sciver on there. They should have invited everybody on that fucking show. Because you know what? That show would have been exactly what you wanted to accomplish with drawing.
A couple of times, but like I think he had a personal thing. Like, I think he felt like if he went on there, maybe this was his ego, but I think his ego was speaking truth. I think he felt like he'd overshadow everybody.
Who, Malin?
So I think he did it.
Or Van Sciver?
No, EVS. Van Sciver, yeah. I think
Van Sciver takes too long. Van Sciver takes too long to draw something. He wouldn't have completed a single drawing on that stream.
Not at all, because he doesn't have the. He wouldn't allow himself to not draw perfectly.
Exactly. He wouldn't have completed a single piece on that fucking show. He would have been known for the guy that can't finish something on drawn and quartered. And you know what? He would have loved it. Because he would have gotten to shit talk Mike. He would have gotten to shit talk anybody else that was on there. And drawn him back hold never would have been a thing.
The one time I remember him being on there, I think they were doing Freddy Krueger, and like he just did a profile of his face, like while everybody else did these like full on pictures. You know what I mean? So yeah, he would have never finished. You know?
Right. So, he never would have won a single competition, and he would have been fine with that. He would have shown up to lose if he would have been invited more often than he was. But we are over budget. We have not even gotten to Bone issue 1. I made Ayrton read this shit, and Ayrton loved it, so I'm sure he doesn't mind. We will look at the review either tomorrow or Monday. But anyway, Dark Gift, we have your YouTube channel, we have your Twitter in the description. Is there anything else you want to plug?
No, like I said, if you wanted to get my ash can free, you can go back Mandy's campaign. It's gonna have a lot of like CG references.
No, I'm just gonna send you my address in your DMs. If you don't send it to me, I'm gonna talk to you. You feel me? She posted the one panel of where I one of the characters is Captain Caesar on his pirate ship, the Queen Andrea. So if that gives you any, and there's more to come. Both the CG villains and CG heroes. Nice. Hey, Commie Mark. And then second part of the answer to Chad's question is, after I'm done with that, I'm doing a commission work for the Babe the Menace, the ladies of the Fandom Menace. I'm doing their avatars as Sith. So if you happen to follow the Fandom Menace at all, and you follow any of the ladies, you'll probably see some of my artwork there. As far as
and then after that,
go ahead. Sorry.
And then after that, hopefully sometime in April, I will have enough work to do where I can maybe start to do a pre-launch for my own book. So,
well, here's the thing.
Nice.
At the end of February, I'm gonna have some tax money, and I'm gonna commission probably 4 to 5 artists to do some avatars for Ayrton and myself to use in the thumbnails. So
cool. Let me know. Yeah, let me know.
I'll DM you about that, but. Anyway, thanks for coming on. Thanks for filling up 2 hours worth of show without me having to really put any brain power in whatsoever. I didn't even know that was possible. Usually, I've fired Ayrton twice by now. I've played some sound clips.
Yeah,
we have
weird.
to review a comic. This man just came in. He brought enough topics for us to discuss without us even having to review a book or anything. I mean, I had to change the title halfway through the show so people wouldn't be disappointed when they look at the replay. We will get to Bone though, and we will look at the EBS clip again. But obviously Ayrton had a different opinion of Bone than I did because he liked it. But with that, thank you for coming on. And anytime you want to come on in the future, just feel free to invite yourself. You're in the Discord now. Just jump in the waiting room. We'll bring you in.
Awesome.
We literally just depend on people to disconnect themselves once they get in here because I'm not doing it. I mean, unless you start asking too much about the JQ, but we all have our minor questions. You put some parentheses out there. I'm not gonna kick you, but anyway, Dark Gift Comics at Dark Gift Comics on Twitter, at Dark Gift Comics Presents on YouTube. Links in the description below. Follow him, subscribe to him. Check out his new show once he finally gets it figured out and get two people with enough sack to get on there. I'm on there after them.
Yeah, maybe we'll just start off with the neutrals.
Well, I like I said, I think I've pointed out enough times in this chat that I'm not neutral. Like, if you're anti-CG, you're anti-church, but I'll still have you on my show. I'll still promote your book. That's kind of my lot in life. Like, I think everybody deserves a fair shake. I don't believe in deplatforming any regard, which is why I have a problem with pocket pussy. I mean, pocket jacks. Dude, I'm sorry.
I hate that guy. I shouldn't say hate. I don't really hate anybody. But
I don't hate anybody either, but I will never ever give him a fair shake in that regard until he comes on and debates Pan. Because I think he's full of shit. Like, he called Pan out for stalking him, quote unquote, posting a picture that occurred 2 days after Pan's picture. Like, what the fuck are you doing, son?
Yeah, that's my point with that. Like, real quick, I know we're getting ready to wrap up, but like that whole incident, it's like you were at a comic convention by Pan's house. He happens to be there. Did he go up to you at the booth? Maybe. Did he call you pocket pussy? Maybe. Whatever. That's okay. That shit happens. He posts a picture of having a beer, and then you go and track down the same bar and go sit in the same seat. Who's the one stalking here? That's all I got to say about that.
If he stalked you down at the same fucking convention and called you pocket pussy, then you did one of two things. You either called security or you were a bitch.
Right.
I mean,
and then you decided to stalk back. Like, it makes no sense. The whole thing makes no sense. So
none of it makes any goddamn sense.
We have somebody. We have somebody in the chat saying that they feel bad that they're apparently not cool enough to be in the Discord. Should we put the link out there?
Put the oh no, that's Tipster. Absolutely, give him a link to the Discord and give him member role.
All right.
Tipster.
There you go, buddy.
Tipster is the fucking goat, straight up. Tipster, join the Discord. We'll get you membership roles. It'll get you Patreon privileges. No offense, Dark Gift. Like, Tipster's been a good guy to me from the beginning.
None taken, brother. None taken. But yeah, thanks again for having me on. I really do appreciate it. And I do look forward to the bone review.
Hey,
so
anytime.
I'll definitely watch.
Yeah, anytime, man. We will have you on if you're ever available. Just give me a heads up, and we will bring you back.
Perfect.
So, with that, Ayrton, do you have anything to give these ladies and gentlemen on our departure. But before you do, I have a word from our inside man in Wuhan.
Uh oh. Oh no.
I wanna bring him on. Oh wait. Does Tipter want to come on? Does Tipter want to give a word before we close out? Jump in the waiting room, buddy. If you want to come on, we got just a few minutes left. If you want to jump in the waiting room, we're gonna bring our man from Wuhan in real quick. He's got a word for everybody from the Wuhan province of China, where they have recently announced that the city of China has well over 400 million people quarantined, and that is over half of the U.S. population. So this guy's got a message to bring to everyone in the U.S. So, real quick,
Donald Trump don't trust China. China is asshole.
thank you, the man on the street in Wuhan.
We appreciate that hot take.
But anyway, it doesn't look like Tipter's going to make it into the waiting room. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you for putting up with our bullshit. Dark Gift, thank you for carrying the show. We didn't really have to do anything because you were here.
No problem. I had a good time.
Well, that's what we aim for. But with that,
Yeah.
Ayrton, do you have any last words for the people?
Just good night, everybody.
Ah, yes, I can end the show now. Thank you, buddy. Later, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks everybody for coming out. Like, subscribe, share the link, share the Patreon. We will have super chats up shortly. You notice I didn't read
In the next few days.
You notice I didn't read any chats. We're gonna have some super chats up. We appreciate everybody for coming and participating. We will give a shout out to the Patreons in the next episode, where we will have Scribe Undead on to talk the basically the failure of Marvel Comics as a whole. But Dan Gams,
All right.
no, I did read that one. So we will see you guys tomorrow night, and until then, have a good one, guys.
Right.